Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Late Drop presented by Futures. Futures is the gold standard of fins. They're the fins that I use, I trust, and most of the big wave community trust as well. From 1 foot to 60 foot, they've got you covered. So support them because they support us and ride Futures. Today's guest is none other than Frank Quirarte. Frank is a photographer. He's a rescue driver for jet skis for big waves. They are the forgotten heroes in the big wave surfing scene. The guys that go in, save us, pick us up from disaster. And it was really good chatting with him and getting his insights on what it's like to be on the ski, trying to save us as well as document us at the same time. So I had a great chat with Frank. I hope you enjoy.
I always get the first wave.
Pretty much, it brought me to tears. Like the wave was so good.
That's the biggest drop I've ever taken in my life.
And so right there, I told myself I needed to just relax and stay calm. That I'm stronger than this.
I've been having obviously a lot of just straight up big wave surfers, but as we all know, big wave surfing, there's so much more involved in chasing waves and turning up the swells. And I thought, no, who better to get on than yourself, because not only a photographer, but jet ski rescue driver and a background in just helping people and stuff. And I guess for me too, it's perfect for me because I don't really know how deep that goes and how it all started. So I'd like to try and go back to the start, because I know you're in the Bay Area now. That's where you live now. But is that where you grew up? You grew up in the Bay Area?
Born and raised here in Pacifica.
Yeah.
Yep, just a little bit north of Mavericks. 10 minutes,
awesome.
15 minutes. Yeah.
And then what was it like for you? Were you a ocean going kid from the get-go?
I mean, there wasn't a lot of us surfing, but definitely was surfing on since like 13 or 14 years old. Always at the beach, right? That's what we had. We had beach and dirt bikes. That was our thing. And then just growing up, going through high school, some of my friends were way into it more than I was. And there's only a handful of them too. And then I left for the Air Force. I went into the military, and then just traveled around the world doing cool stuff with the military. And I really had a good career in the Air Force, and then came back in the 90s and started hearing about Mavericks. I rented a room from one of my friends here, and Sean Rhodes and those guys lived up there. And I remember them coming like 6 a.m, honking their horns to pick up the other guys. And I'm like, where are those guys going so early surfing? I'm like, wait. I'm like, oh, they're going to Mavericks place. I'm like, oh, I want in on that. I want to see what they're doing. So I kind of watched it. We kind of watched it from the peripheral for like another 5 years, and then decided, okay, we need to be part of this somehow.
That's cool. So that says a lot that you're in the military or the Air Force. And what, if you don't mind me asking, like what division or what was your role in the?
So my first job in the Air Force was I didn't get to choose. I only got to choose like a category. Yeah. Because I didn't really know. I was really young. I was only 17 when I signed up, and they put me in the nuclear weapons specialist.
Wow.
They were working on, and they just had brought the cruise missile in. And that was the first new missile that was added to the Air Force munitions dump. And I worked on that for a couple of years. I'm like, this is not really what I want to do. So you can cross train. If you're eligible in the military, you can switch up your job. So I switched it up, and then I started working on airplanes, and then I got to fly and do a lot of cool stuff. And then that just turned into a lot of other things too. I got my EMT certification there, and that got me going on helping people. Yeah. And then I got out of the military, and I did my 4 years. And when you get out of the military in the United States, you have to do 2.5 years inactive reserve. And then they called me back in for the Desert Storm for the war. So I had to do that. So that was another 2.5 years onto my 4 years. So, and I was done. I enjoyed my military career, but I was definitely done with it.
Good to get in and get out with.
Some people can do it, but I can't stay in. I couldn't. I knew there was other things coming my way, so.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because I was going to ask when it was the EMT, when you got that, because, I think, a lot of people do know, but, a lot of people probably don't know that how trained you are in that stuff, and the role that you've had with big waves and, rescue and all that sort of stuff. And And I think that if we go back to like when you start, like also photography, I mean, obviously photography as well. Like, I'd like to, like, when did photography start to come into your life? So it sounds like EMT and helping people and just having that, you know, there's people that, to me, like, that when you know them, even growing up as kids, I had friends, you just knew that they were going to be a fireman, a policeman. They just had that energy or that demeanor about them. And obviously you had that about you as well, but I'm wondering when photography came into the picture as well.
So yeah, it was ever on my radar, ever. I mean, I used to grab my dad's camera, you know, and mess around with it when we go on vacation. But my dad was a lifelong machinist, fabricated machinist. My brothers were in the military, so I just thought that was my future. I was going to be an aircraft mechanic or an engineer. And that's what I was, and people probably thought that of me as well, you know, or some sort of role like that, which I did. I hopped on board with Delta Airlines right after the military and worked with them before I hooked up with Quicksilver for the first contest. But the photography came about when I first started going out with Jeff back in the 90s. You know, I was just helping him out. Like, I would just drive the Zodiac or, you know, whatever, you know, load boards, whatever. And then somebody at Surfer Magazine said, hey, because Jeff always had somebody with him, right? Because you have to have somebody with you. He has to drive the boat or do whatever you need to be done. So they're like, hey, give him a camera. Like, teach him how to take photos. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I mean, why not? So Jeff had a camera. It was janky, but we figured it out and snapped off some good snaps. I got a couple in focus, and they put it in the magazine. Like, one shot. First shot was just a picture of a wave. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. This is even different now. This is even more exciting.
Wow.
So then Grant Washburn was working on his movie, and I started working with them, and his partner that was making the movie with them, she gave me a really good camera, like a full Nikon, you know, system. She had bought a new one, and she said, here, just take this and use it. And then Doug Acton was out there taking pictures. He was a real photographer, and he basically trained the monkey, right? Here, push this button, do this, do that. And Don Montgomery and another guy, Vernon Fisher, they literally just took me under their wing and just showed me what to do, and been doing it for 25 years.
That's classic. It's classic. Yeah. It's classic that, because if I would have had to have guessed, I probably would have said you're a photographer first, and then once you know, usually if you could take photos and then you get like, you know, it's like you're on the cliff, you're far away, then you're like, hey, you can jump on a boat. Why don't you jump on a boat? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm on the boat. You can jump on a jet ski. Why don't you jump on a jet ski?
Exactly.
Hey, why don't you go start swimming now? Go swim in the pit. You know, like it seems like that's the way it would go, but it seems like for you, it's like, hey, you were living there, grew up there, surfing, and then all of a sudden, hey, I can drive a jet ski. I'm EMT. I'm qualified. I can be of great help. You know, and then going out there and all of a sudden getting the camera put in your hand. That's pretty classic. Yeah.
It was pretty fun. Pretty fun way to just go about it.
And when was that, Frank? When was
Jesus, that was 1995, 96 back then.
At that stage, you still working for the airlines? I
was still working for Delta, yeah, because I resigned from the airlines after Quicksilver hired me to help Jeff with the first contest.
Yeah, Men Who Ride Mountains, right?
Yeah, so that was like 1999, 1980. I think we started in 1998, like planning it, but so then it happened in 1999, yeah.
And that you just saw an opportunity, like, to get out of sort of the 9-to-5 slog and take a chance with...
They offered me almost the same amount of money. The only thing I was worried about was not having those flight benefits anymore. But my gosh, I've traveled so much with all the surf companies. Yeah. You know, since this started, and so I have no regrets at all.
Yeah. So, and going back to the first one, so you were hired to take photos and or do the double duty.
I was the water coordinator.
Yes.
So I handled the boats, the people on, because there wasn't as many as there is now. We had like 2 fishing boats, you know, with like maybe 20 people on each one. So we had to manage that, manage the rescue team. I worked with Mel, and the Hawaiian Water Patrol came over, and we all kind of worked together with Sean Eladio as well, and I did that, and I did take photos, have my camera. Yeah. So
is that sort of how it started? Like, where you're just like, hey, I'm sort of working like this job where I'm doing the safety, but I'll put the camera in just in case, and I'll just snap a few shots.
Oh, and just put it in there.
Yeah, it seems like, and to be honest, like, we all know, like, again, I think you took such good photos of all those years that like everyone thinks of you as the photographer, but it nearly seems like even to this day, when even maybe the photography was like, say 10 years ago when the photography may have been paying more of the bills, like it always seemed like you were the guy that like, it didn't matter really about the shot, like, cause your mentality is like, I'm going to drop my camera, go in the pit and save this guy as well, you know? So it's so cool and interesting to see that it's the reverse. And I'm guessing a lot of people haven't been around for a while that maybe just starting to surf big waves or have been around will understand that's the way it happened for you. That was just cool.
Yeah, definitely a trade-off. I mean, if you can do it, you should, because we're so blessed with this whole journey, you know, and like, why not help? You're out there and you can do it. It doesn't take a lot of skill to initially learn it. Then you can sit out there and watch. And I mean, you do it. You do as many rescues as I do out there. So
yeah,
it's just, everyone should be doing it. Everyone should play a part in safety when they're out there.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's a skill that I said this in another podcast. I think when toe surfing sort of went to the back burner a little bit, people were like, yeah, it's so good, the paddle movement, this and that. And I'm like, it's great. I said, but what we've lost is people understanding and knowing how to drive a ski and do proper rescues, pickups, and I guess that's where Bragg has come in and taken some up of the slack, and guys like Sean Eladio and Brian Keelana and all those people, and yourself and whoever it may be that's doing some coaching. But generally, if you were surfing big waves, like you had to know how to tow the guy in. You had to know how to go in and you had to know how to troubleshoot. And you know, if you go now out to Mavericks and put 90% of those people surfing there on a jet ski and go, hey, go get that guy when he eats shit, they're not going to be able to do that. No. You know, and I think that's some time in. And that's fine. It's just a generational shift. But I think getting back to the point, I think that we lost whenever you had to go surf Jaws or tow Jaws before everyone was paddling, like if you didn't go out there unless you knew how to drive a jet ski or you knew how to save someone. It was just you just didn't do it. Same with Mavericks. Like you're not going out towing in the Mavericks with Pete and Flea and Barney and all those guys back in the day. If you don't know how to drive a jet ski or save your buddy, like it's just not happening. And so I think that's the biggest thing that we lost from the tow movement sort of being pushed back. But guys like the Bragg and yourself and guys that picked up the slack, and I think a lot of those kids now are starting to understand that they want to go and understand all that stuff, you know, and which is a good thing. Especially
the Half Moon Bay guys, these Half Moon Bay kids that have been watching Mavericks for a long time and wanted to be part, maybe not good enough to get into big waves. Like, okay, I get on, Todd and these guys are all good. They're all great surfers and stuff, but now they're on jet skis learning. I think that's what makes one of the best waterman rescuers is a surfer that can read a wave, whether it's big or small. That's key. Obviously knowing how to operate a jet ski, but it's key to read waves so you don't rush in there. Risk management. We're all talking about, like, you need to know when to go in and not to go in, and being a surfer, you can understand and read the waves, and it just seems really important. Yeah, and the same thing with the photography. It's the same thing. So, that's what makes a good surf photographer is a surfer, because he knows you can kind of anticipate what's going to happen.
Yeah, you need to go over a swell, like for example, like a Jaws. Like you got all the, obviously the Walshes and the local crew over there that know that spot at the back of the hand, and you guys Mavericks, and and it's about patience. It's about like seeing a guy fall in the pit and not panic and going and try and get him first wave, because you're going to miss him, and then you're going to get him on the third or fourth wave and he may be on the rocks. Instead of just going, you know what? Sorry, buddy, you're going to come up, take the next one, and then I'm going to come in behind and swoop you up, and that comes from experience, and that just comes from time, and as a surfer, sort of knowing, I think as well, being rescued, like waving people off. Like I do it all the time. Like, no, not now. Come the next one. I'm good. I'm good. Come get me next time. So
no, it gets heavy. And, in swell direction too. Like you don't know how the water will aerate, and what if you do get hit, where you're going to get pushed. There's lots of things to instantly think about before you make that decision to go in. So
yeah, for sure. So you do that in '99 with Quicksilver, and then once that event's done and that's over, are you now looking at what's next? What's the next project? Because I know that at some stage along the way, and I know you've done a lot with Greg Long and Billabong, but I am guessing along the way there, Billabong gave you guys a couple of skis. The Odyssey came along. I think the Odyssey was before Greg's time. That's when Snips and Snips and all those guys. So I'm just sort of interested in like how you've kept, like from Jeff inviting you to that. How did it keep progressing along? What was next along the road? And did you pursue that, like going, that's what I want to do. I love this. I'm going to try and make this my full-time gig. So
my photography was getting better, right? And there wasn't too many guys out there taking pictures. So I just kept getting better and better, utilizing those guys out there to show me what to do. And then it turned out, to cut to the chase, Surfer Magazine hired me. They put me on retainer because they used to be able to do that. Yeah. So I was on retainer at Mavericks, and Doug was on retainer. Doug Acton was on retainer for surfing at Mavericks, and it was just him and I. And they just paid us to sit around, all winter long to, cover every swell, and they would cover all of our expenses. And then they would, even though they paid us a retainer, they would pay our page rate, Yeah. And so that just kept us alive and going. So, and then I don't remember when it first happened, but Bill Sharp called me. I was already friends with Bill, and he asked me to come help him work on the Double XL. Yeah. Which was called something different at the time. I had a couple of different names for it, but he's like, hey, you want to come over and help me out? Because I was done working for Quicksilver. And so, yeah, and then I started working for Bill, and then they put the whole Billabong Odyssey project together, and I got to go everywhere with those guys, and that was amazing. Like, we had so many amazing surfers that came along with us, Snips and Gerlach and, Barney and Flea and Skin Dog. Everyone just seemed to come from everywhere. Yeah, so, I
remember watching that. I think they came out with a DVD, the Odyssey. Yeah. And I remember watching that. I think you guys were up in Washington, right? I think you were doing that.
Oh, that was amazing. That was like our first training.
Yeah, I remember Brian's all cold, and you guys are walking into the water. And I'm guessing, to me, it seems like that's, when you see the Coast Guard boats go out and do those massive big. That's probably where that was the same.
We went on them. We were on those boats. We got to go out. We trained in the Coast Guard station, and then one day everybody got to go out on the boats, and they had 2 boats full of all of us. Brock Little, Ray Mana, everybody was there. Like anybody who was surfing big waves was at that place, and it was pretty cool, pretty amazing to be a part of it. And then seeing big wave surfers that charge giant waves, like little happy little kids, smiles on their face, are all clipped into these big Coast Guard boats, and the guy just backing into giant waves. Like, you guys, what are you guys doing on jet skis? That guy can do anything. Yeah. Like, you need a bigger boat like this. I'm like, our budgets are a little bit less
than the U.S. Navy.
So that was the start of it all. And some good stories even came out of that, man, where the locals thought we were coming up there to film their surf break, and they stormed our compound, and
wow.
It was there's some fun. Somebody
probably not a good compound to storm, I'm guessing.
No, it wasn't. I think they thought twice about it after
all the guys that are surfing those waves do it for a little bit of a screw loose reason that they're probably gonna
But it was good comedy. Bill should definitely write a book about all that, because there were some good stories that didn't get, that didn't come out there. Like, we had Ken Bradshaw there. I mean, it was anybody who was anybody.
Yeah, I think Ken and Lane, right? Lane Beachy was his girlfriend at the time, and
we had everybody.
Yeah.
Shane Dorian.
Yeah.
And just all the names are just popping in my head, but
yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
And then Bill really ramped up after that the Double XL, and for a while it was just him and I. Like, it was just him and I running it, putting together the Double XL with support from Billabong. Yeah. Just putting the website together and,
you had the photos and the access to all that as well.
Yeah. And they would send all the photos to him, and he would do the editorial, and I would do all the photo editing and posting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had great support from Billabong. That was 15 years. That was a great run, man. I mean, you know how long. You don't usually last very long at those companies, so. Yeah. That was a great run, so.
And then that's, when you started sort of, I guess hooking up with Greg and being around with Greg too, just with all the, strike missions and sneaky missions that he did. Was that something that Billabong was a part of for you as well?
Yeah, I pretty much, like, him and I, friendship started on a couple trips to Toto Santos. And, just being around the whole, he came to Mavericks a lot.
Yeah.
He was like totally committed to Mavericks and surfing it hard.
Yeah.
And, surfed it amazingly. And he was in a couple of the contests, and, one of the contests he won, and he shared his prize money. I mean, the kid is he's just an amazing guy. You want to be around him, He's a magnetic personality. So, yeah. And then he just started inviting me on his crazy trip. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that big double trailer with the silver jets. I think they're still around too. So.
I think so. Two of them are up here.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have any skis right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then that's because you started. I remember when I was still living in Australia and dreaming of at some stage, but I was just obsessed with everything, big waves. And I remember seeing it. Was it Mavericks Rescue? Was that?
Yeah.
That's something that you started, right?
Yeah. Jeff and I kind of started it after Mark Fu's death.
Okay.
A couple of different iterations of it, but yeah, Mavericks Water Patrol and Mavericks Rescue. It just someone had to do something,
Yeah.
It was just the popularity was gaining too quickly, and more of that was going to happen, and obviously did. But
yeah,
it just we had to start something.
Yeah. Was there any resist? Was there, because there's towing at the time, right? People are towing at that stage,
yeah,
for sure. So was there any resistance to
humongous battle?
Yeah,
it was the hugest battle. It was like, I remember, I can compare it to when we were growing up. They wanted to ban dirt bikes off the hills here, and they did. But it was a huge battle between the dirt bikers and the environmentalists, which the dirt bikers, did not win that battle. Just like the jet skiers didn't win that battle. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't know if it was an ego thing, but we just went on forever. We worked with with NOAA and the Monterey Bay sanctuary people, and we had our own study groups and discussion groups. But in the end, they pretty much banned it all, like from the whole entire sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And then now, recently, in the last few years, with new management down there, they're wanting to work with us again and. Because they see what's happening out there. They know that jet skis are not zooming around out there and doing donuts and stuff. They're just basically sitting out there.
Yeah, and there was had to be a high surf.
That was some of their rules.
That was the rule, right? That
they had it had to be over the buoy, the local Half Moon Bay buoy had to be 20 at 20, which is. Doesn't only happens once in a decade or something. So now they've even they relaxed that restriction too for us, which is great. So it's any high surf advisory now during whatever during the winter months.
Mavericks at 13 at 17 is going to be 20 feet.
They didn't understand that.
Yeah. 20 at 20 is probably people aren't probably wanting to go out anyway. Yeah. It's going to be too big.
And they kind of relied on us to kind of educate the new people that were coming out, and I think we did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
And that's helped out a lot too. And now they're doing their part to educate anybody else because, we do have people just showing up out there and on jet skis and stuff that should not be out there just spectating or something. We just have to tell them to go in. Just you're going to ruin it for the rest of us. Go jump on a boat and, watch it from a boat. It's a better vantage point anyway. So,
yeah. What about the surfers at that stage? Was there any resistance by surfers to have jet skis out there? Like just for
completely.
Forget about the towing, but just actually jet skis to go in and save people? Because I'm sure there was definitely the purists, right, and the hardcore. It's like, hey, if you can't survive and paddle back out or paddle out, then you probably shouldn't be out there, right?
Yep, definitely was it was the purist against the hybrids. So the hybrids were like Pete and Flea, those guys who love to tow in the giant big waves, but they could also paddle into those same waves. And those other guys, a lot of more local guys were like, no, you don't need jet skis out here whizzing around circles and blah, 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 which made sense, completely made sense. And I think the way they worked it out is kind of good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they do it at Jaws, but, when it came down to those tow surfers would go out there, and if a paddle surfer wanted to paddle surf, then the jet skis have to pull out.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it worked.
I think that's the general rule everywhere.
Yeah, and there's been some occasions where even the paddle guys are like, you guys go for another hour,
Yeah.
Let's see some, because they even want to see it, because it is pretty spectacular to watch a guy towing a 50-foot wave.
Yeah, for sure.
On a 6-foot board. Yeah,
I mean, it's been that long. I mean, that's maybe the swell last year, 2 years ago, when there was a bit of a tow before the paddlers that morning. I mean, it was borderline. It wasn't when we probably meant to have. We should have ran the contest that day, but we thought it was going to be bigger. But then But yeah, it was nearly a paddle day anyway, but there was a bunch of guys towing, and then paddlers came out, and then it was over. You know, it was just...
And that's a good... It worked out... It still works out really well.
Yeah, and there's certain spots too, like, you know, in Australia, especially with the slabs, and I think even Chopu, they work it out where, you know, the sets are unpaddleable, and the guys will whip in, you know, and you'll see them at Chopu where they... And Chipstones and places like that where it's like there's no way these guys are paddling for that. So it's sort of a... But then, you know, like again, right, you get people start to encroach on the
they used to do that here, and then that's when it all went bad.
That's when it all
Because they
gets
would all
bad.
of a sudden, some guy would just zip right through the lineup, you know, and just whip somebody into a wave, and like,
Yeah, classic. And then what? Any other training, Frank? Like, did you guys do specific training, like go to the Navy or the Coast Guard and stuff? Or that was sort of...
I guess something I left out is when we started the contest, Kawasaki was giving us 4 jet skis, but they said we had to go through some training, some jet ski rescue training. And Sean Eladio, K38, they had covered the contest, and Toto Santos, the big one where they were the first K2 big wave challenge that
Taylor Knox got that wave.
Yeah, he got that winning wave. So they did the rescue there. So she kind of had her thing going where she was already teaching like lifeguards down in Southern California and all around the world. So me and Jeff went down there and trained with her, and then she was impressed with my jet ski skills because I've been riding jet skis since I was like 10 years old, right? We had a houseboat growing up on the lake, so we were just always zipping around the jet ski. My brothers always had jet skis, so I was pretty schooled on them already. So she asked me if I wanted to come with her because she also covered the Jet Ski Pro Racing Tour. Man, and that's some crazy shit right there where these guys are going 70, 80 miles an hour racing around a really tight course, and then they fly off, right? We're all sitting out in little spots around the course, and if somebody crashes, they fly off like 20 feet away, and all their shit flies off, and you have to go get them, but everyone's still racing around you. It's
Crazy.
Seriously the most hectic thing you could ever be a part of. Like, I'd rather sit out in a big wave than sit in the middle of that melee, because anybody could just T-bone you or just wipe you out, and it happens all the time. So so just being with her was super helpful, learning all that, like under high pressure. Like, you know, it wasn't big waves yet, but it was something that was pretty intense, you know, other than my Air Force experience too. So been around it.
Yeah, it seems like being in the Air Force and all that sort of gives you the... Yeah, so you can tell with some people, their nerves, they've got nerves of steel, nothing really rattles them too much. They're calm under the pressure, and it just becomes... It's because of how they grew up or you know, what they did. Like, obviously...
Or you're educating, you know, like you were saying. Like, so it was that was like pretty much my first like organized training was with Sean Eladio. Then I trained with the Hawaiian Water Patrol, then the Coast Guard, and then the Navy. And then I went on some of Sean Eladio's classes on her tour and, you know, did that. And now I'm with B-Rag, so training with those guys.
Speaking of them, just give us like they've done a great job. I know, and then now it's a bummer that obviously again COVID hit, and it's because I know they were ramping up for a big year of in-person, you know, courses and stuff. But what's you know, going from what you've done with Sean and everything like that, like the progress now to where we have something like Bragg. Take us through your thoughts on that and how good that is for everyone.
I think it's amazing because the amount of detail that goes along with it. Before it was Sean Eladio teaching 20 guys, or you know, and maybe a couple instructors. Now you have 6 or 8 instructors, and they all have very specific specialties, and they go into different classroom settings or in the water, wherever they do it, you know, and pass that knowledge along. But it's very specific to something, and otherwise being maybe more general, like, you know, you go in and do a rescue, you grab his hand, but here's 10 more different ways to do it now. Like, and to do it, you know, a little bit more efficiently, or here's a different way to do CPR. Like, you can, if this happens to this guy, you may not want to use that procedure. You might want to use this one. So it's just a amount of detail and knowledge in those instructors, and that whole program and organization is amazing. I wish we would have had it a long time ago, but it's here now. So it's amazing.
It's here
once we get back to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I always look back at, you know, like Sean over there for you guys in California, and you look over here with, you know, Terry Ahui and Brian and the North Shore Lifeguards, what they've been able to do, and the knowledge that they've put in. And the cool thing I think too, with the big way to brag now, is that you've got the guys surfing, the surfers that are able to tell you each specifically each spot. Like imagine having Greg Long telling you how to do something at Mavericks or Todos, where the guys spent a ton of time, or you've got the Walshes or whoever it may be from Piahi being able to tell you how to go through there, and someone like Healy or someone that's been through that, and all the real life experiences that you're in a classroom and you're like talking to the people that have done it. It's not like a school teacher,
exactly.
It's not one where you're like, I don't know about this guy. Is this guy full of shit?
Right.
Or you're like, no, this is Mark Healy. Like he's right here telling me what to do. Like I think that's the really cool thing that they've been able to do important. Is get not the say real professionals, but get the people that really that's what they do, and then also get the people that have been in there and in those situations and survived them.
Well, they had Grant Washburn come into the last one here in Half Moon Bay, and Grant, he's so articulate in his speech, and he has probably the most days recorded out at Mavericks, right?
Yeah.
So he knows every nuance of the place. So when you're listening to him, you're believing him because just by his explanation that wow, this guy's he's been there. Like talking to a guy that's climbed to the top of Mount Everest, you're going to talk to him before you're going to become a mountain climber, and other guy that's just a hiker or something. So
yeah, for sure,
it's important to tap into all that knowledge. And
a
lot of smart guys out there too. We got doctors and lawyers and all kinds of stuff.
Lots of
educated people.
Yeah, lots of cool people that can really really help, and makes you realize that you should, even for the guys that have been around a long time, it's just good to go and refresh and
for sure,
and just do that and just go through the motions again, and just makes me think to myself just now, like, hey, it's something I need to do again too, because you just never know when it's going to be. We're all friends, but you never know when it's going to be someone that's really close to you, that's you got to save and do CPR or whatever, like Aaron Gold potentially at
Greg
Fiji,
Long,
right? Greg at
one of your best friends. You see him come up and you think he's gone, and you're like, okay.
You're on that trip, obviously, right?
Yeah, we're the first ones on him, and we're like, oh my god, I saw him. I'm like, instantly, I'm like, oh my god, it's Greg, and then I'm like, okay, it's whoever, we need to save him. So.
Yeah. What's speaking on that? Let's go. Like, what are some of your most memorable, trips at the start, like before, pre, like sort of Cortez and that, like. Some of your most memorable stories about chasing some swells, or
I think it was like the Billabong Odyssey, because that was literally like a swell would hit Belhara or Australia, anywhere. And Bill's like, "Hey, you got your passport?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, we're leaving in 2 days. Let's go." And that was like twice a month. Yeah. Like we're in France, we're in Spain, we're in here, we're there. Like holy mackerel! And there's so many of them, and all of them obviously come with all the stories and so fun and a lot of in Chile. Chile was great. I think we spent 3 weeks in Chile, and then the northern, Arica and Iquique, surfing those big wave spots there. Yeah. Man, that was good. But it's, you're not always surfing, or you're not always out there taking pictures. So you just kind of immerse yourself in the local, the local history and all the things that are going around. And these places have been around for centuries, right? So there's so much history to immerse yourself in there. And Jeff Vergotz, Jeff, he's a big surf photographer. He'd been down there a million times, and he came down with theirs too. And just because of his local knowledge there, man, he was the most amazing tour guide of all on our down days. So we got to just go everywhere, and we always find somebody like that anywhere we go. Yeah, he takes us under their wing and just shows us around, the whole area, and fills us in on the history of it. And so that's the part I like. I like both parts of it. I like to surf, obviously, but if you're going to go somewhere, especially as a surfer, where you're kind of an ambassador of goodwill, no matter what, you're gonna be welcomed with open arms most of the time, and so you have to utilize that, as a blessing. So I dig it.
When did you really sort of start to get right into like actually the shooting and the driving of the ski? When did that become?
I think it was just always something. I didn't have a ski. Me and Jeff didn't have a ski, and we only had the Zodiac, and that thing was a nightmare, right? It was just I tell people we used to pull the string, the string would come out of the motor and then we're wrapping a thing around, there's waves coming, or, me and Grant and our friend Will, we're getting chased down by giant waves and the thing only does 20 miles an hour, and it's just, just hard. Like, I don't know, do I really want to do this on this thing? And then here comes a couple jet skis and I'm like, okay, we need to get a jet ski. But obviously we didn't make enough money at that point to round one up. And my brother had one and he sold it to me, pretty cheap. Yeah. And me and Jeff I started towing Jeff in and started just getting a feel for it out there on a ski. It wasn't a proper ski. It was a Sea-Doo. Those boats are made for the lakes, but it wasn't long after that Kawasaki kicked down those skis and we got better and better at it. And, so that's when I really, started getting comfortable doing it.
So it's pretty safe to say that even to this day that the photography comes second.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Or it's always just been a passion, something that, hey,
it's almost like it's third, because just being out there is first. The excitement, how it is, how excited you are, and the nervous excitement of going out there,
everyone's
even
coming
the build
into town.
up. Now you're watching the swell, you're watching the charts and stuff, and now the day's here, and you get out there, and the first wave you see just cracks on the bowl, you feel it, feel it underneath you, and then. Okay, somebody takes off and wipe out, and then there's the next thing you got to go do, and then we better take a picture of it.
And your background too, being in the military, it's like getting ready for a mission or some sort of training thing, right? Where it's just it's coming, you're getting ready, you're getting prepared, and then you're out in it, and then you're probably like, hey, I don't want to take a photo, I want to go in the pit and save this guy. That's going to get my adrenaline going,
Exactly.
what I mean?
No,
but it's crazy
Greg
because you take such good photos, Frank. You take, one of the best, to this day, one of the best photos I think I had taken of me was from you shooting from the left across that crazy day, and the thing was just such a beautiful photo,
That's one of my favorites too, for sure.
It's just,
and there's nobody else over there. They all had left. All the other photographers took off to the other side. And somebody got Seth Del Rey. He got a photo of me on the cliff shooting the picture.
Yeah, so
and then he sent me the print. Man, that was a beautiful shot. So I'm like, wow,
so there's a
awesome.
photo of you taking the photo from way pulled back. That's
super
incredible.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool when we can all share like that. It makes it all even more fun.
Yeah, and where is speaking of shooting then? Like you say, you've been so lucky to go to so many spots, and obviously Mavericks is close to home, but where are some of your favourite places to shoot from the water?
I think Cortez is cool. That's been great. Mavericks, obviously. Jaws is amazing to shoot, and Todos. Both of those waves are amazing, Jaws and Todos, because of the color and the reflection and the way that those waves photograph. Mavericks obviously doesn't photograph like those waves. I don't know if it's just the terrain underneath the water or what it is, the way the wave drops out, but those, look at the barrels that they're riding at Jaws. We get a few barrels at Mavericks, here and there, mostly on the left though.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting next to a 50-foot wave and it's barreling, there's a guy pumping down down the middle of it, it doesn't compare to anything, especially if you're a photographer. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? And having the skill of being a rescuer, you can sit in there a little bit longer, because when it's going to break, or how close you are to it. And being a surfer as well, you can read the wave.
That's a great advantage to have, is to, number one, be in the destiny, because it's all about positioning, right? It seems like it's like surfing, like photography, you're positioning, am I going to zoom out too far, and then it's just and so that you can hold your line a little bit longer, and like you say, however you're doing it, one hand here, one hand there, doing that, and you can tell, there's some, even Fred Pompermeyer, he's always out at Mavs, solo, he takes great shots like that. There's a bunch of good guys that do that now, that are really proficient on the ski.
And Fred, Fred, he's traveled around almost all the spots, so that alone gives him that upper hand and that experience. He's also a surfer, and he's an extremist too, so he knows the risks and what not to do and what to do. So,
do you guys with the ski, obviously shooting the left at Mavericks, shooting the left itself is cool, because there's not many people surf the left, right? So then all of a sudden you see people start, if the goofy footers start to hunt the left, then you'll shoot over there. But But then you actually see those amazing images, like you say, of people shooting through the barrel and stuff. And I think that's why Mavericks is so unique. Just how steep and throaty it is, and how scooped out it is, and you can shoot like right through. Yeah. I think one. I'm not sure whose photo it was, but Josh Lawyer maybe got a cover.
Yeah, that was my shot. That was my cover shot. Yeah.
Yeah, so like straight through, you could see the boats. Oh, you see him and the boats in the background through the barrel. I was just like, wow, that's a incredible, like, to have the vision, right, to go away and go, okay, I'm not going to...
Well, you're hunting for it, too. Now that you know, like, Kurt Myers, you'll watch him and Fred, they're hunting for that shot. That you have to just sit in that right spot. You have to see how far the wave's coming in, and you know you want that thing to break with right in front of you, but you also have to have the right angle on it to shoot through it. So there's there's a skill to that one.
Well, yeah, I want to touch on the skill. I mean, I think the biggest skill for apart from getting artistic and stuff like that, but obviously you want to make the wave look as big as it can, right? Like, especially back in that Odyssey, so the Odyssey day, like up until even to this modern time, but when we were having the XL Awards at the Grove and stuff. It was all about, it's the height, it's the angle, and you would see 10 different photos from different photographers, and one shot would look like 10 foot, and the other one could make it look like 60 feet, right? Like, so there's a skill to what lens, how pulled back, where you are in the channel, right? Like all that sort of stuff, like that's got to be a skill in itself. That comes from experience, I'm guessing.
And it's hard because let's say Rob Brown's out there in his boat, right? And he's up on his catwalk. I'll be right below him, take the same shot. Both of our shots my shot looks 10 feet smaller and his looks 10 feet higher. So it's just the luck of the angle, and we all know what the cliff angle looks, that always looks pretty big. So if we had Jaws is great because that cliff is right there and those guys scale down it. And they get right even with the wave, so they get that shot, and it's almost the pure size of the wave, right?
It's the pure, yeah.
So we don't have that, because we don't. There's no hill there, so everything has to come from an angle at Mavericks.
What about even just someone? The next extreme thing for photographers, Frank, this is you. You've just got to put a little pontoon on Mushroom Rock.
Right,
let's just get up there and shoot straight.
We thought about it. Sit in a basket with a helicopter.
Helicopter down, shoot. Oh my god. I've put too many ideas out there now. Some crazy guy's gonna like the tightrope at freaking Nazare that they're walking across and the things there.
Well, we thought about dangling in a basket off a helicopter, but then we shot Chasing Mavericks, the movie Chasing Mavericks, and they had this crazy camera on this missile-looking thing. It was shaped like a missile, so that it would just stay straight with the air, so they can actually fly. It was
flying, hanging down, right, and the camera's following the
It's right in the front of this thing, but it's a $25,000 camera, and they've never tried this before. And of course, the first time they do it, right through a wave. So they're like, okay, forget the basket thing off the helicopter.
Yeah, imagine that. Up, I want to go up.
Right.
Oh, it's classic.
Yeah.
What's because some waves. Especially, I want to say that, I know that Waimea. Have you shot Waimea?
Yeah.
Yeah, it always photographs small, in my opinion. I mean, I know it's not pound for pound at the moment.
But not from the water, though. That's what I noticed about Waimea.
Yeah.
From the water, I've seen some shots from the eddy, the most recent shots from the eddy. Yeah. Seems from the water, I've never got to shoot it from the water. But
shoots more its true size. Yeah. The couple, I think the Mason Ho wave and maybe a Jamie O'Brien wave from the water, and even there's
film. A Peter Mel wave. There's a Peter Mel wave from back in the day. He was during the eddy. You just see the size of it.
Yeah, but if you're shooting anywhere but from there, it's really you come back and you're like, wow. Yeah. It's looks 8 feet.
Right. No, totally.
It's crazy. And then some waves. I mean, obviously, I think Jaws is pretty just pound for pound. You sort of get what you get, There's definitely different angles make waves look bigger, but, if it looks like a big one, it's a giant one,
Yeah, no, totally. That bottom just drops out of that wave so much. It just falls so below sea level, and it just makes that wave so much taller.
And then what about, I want to ask you about, and this is a double-edged question, because you were there when we did the first paddle contest at Nazare. So Nazare became this whole new realm, right? And then talk about a spot that you could shoot from a million different angles, and then, and then you're looking at it. It looks like everyone says it looks like a mush burger because it's so big, this and that. But like I know you were there as a rescue driver, part of the WSL rescue team. Number one, I'll get to that. We'll to I know what it's like, but what it's like to drive a jet ski in Nazare. But like as a photographer, and that like mine as well, like because you can see from the cliff, right? You can see all the different angles, but also like at that stage, you really hadn't seen too many photos from the water over there either. But I'm guessing you like doing both, but having that photography eye while driving the jet ski is probably going, man, like if I could get into this position, it would be incredible. Yeah,
during some of those contests, from like just being side on with that wave and seeing how steep it is, you don't get that from the land. No. Some of those guys shoot way up top to make it look big, and some of them shoot way low and they pull back too much. But seeing it from the water and seeing you guys take off, I'm like, oh my God, someone has to do it. You couldn't do it like we do it at Mavericks. You couldn't drive the jet ski and shoot.
No,
there's so many waves coming at you.
Yeah,
like, there's waves coming from everywhere.
You would need someone that knows how to drive the ski.
Super skilled.
You're on the back shooting, and you can relate. You both are really good, so you both know. And even then, you ain't safe because you might turn around and go. So I say, people go, you punch over 15 foot of white water in the short break there, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go left, and you go, oh no, I'm not. Oh, I'm going to go right. No, I'm not.
Oh yeah.
You're just trying to shoot back to shore and get back out. It's like a whole nother.
Well, I remember when we showed up there for the first event, our flights got messed up and the four of us were stranded. We got in that night before and only one of our guys was there to kind of fill us in because we had never been there before. We've only seen all the photos. So we show up the next day and Garrett, and we had to shuttle people off the beach. Remember, we had to go in the beach and bring them back out. And Garrett asked us, he's like, hey, who's going to go into the beach? And we're like, no one's raising their hand, right? And he's like, how many people here have been to the beach? Nobody raises their hand, right? He's like, okay, quick training. Holy shit, man. That was the craziest thing I've ever done. Yeah. Like just riding in there and riding back. I remember I went in and picked up Nick Lamb one time and we rode in there. I was doing pretty good, and then we came back, and a huge set came in from that outside right? We're like, hold on, Nick, and I just hammered it, right? And he's holding on. He's got his 11-foot board, we're swinging around. We're up into the wave, and we just swing around a big right-hander and go back to the beach. Takes us, 15 minutes to just navigate it,
Yeah.
But then watching the local guys, some of the local guys, they know exactly what to do. But the local knowledge is huge there. Yeah,
it's massive, but you can, there is just times, it doesn't matter if you're God, you're going to get in a position where there's nothing you can do. You are in a spot where it's like, you're just done. No matter how good you are, it's just, that's the reality. And I think more than ever, because, if you see a ski go down, generally somewhere else, you're like, oh, what happened? Like, was it a mistake? Blah, blah, blah. But Nazare, it's just so common. It's so common to see skis just rolling into the beach, and you're just like, it's not your fault, buddy. You just got into a spot where there was no exit, no way out. And I remember the final of Nazare, and I hadn't even caught a wave. I got cleaned up by a set, and then this is actually before I even went out. Abe was taking me out. And we lost the ski going out for the final.
I remember that.
We were going out, and they just we were shooting towards the rocks a little bit, and we went up and rolled the ski and were swimming back in and had to get the ski and go back out. This is before the final even started. I was like, oh my God, this is radical.
The second one where Garrett flipped on the inside too.
Yeah.
And he had somebody on there.
Damien Hobgood got nearly knocked out.
Right, that was him and Garrett.
Yeah,
the ski came back down on top of him.
Because it's like when you see Alex and Hugo, what happens is that one was radical. I'd never seen that before, but
those two waves they just converged.
The waves converged, and then there was this crazy whitewater going, and it was like a whitewater explosion. And I've been on the ski with Hugo, and we did the same. We got in, he picked me up, and the scary thing is you don't want to go over straight on, as you know, because you're just going to get so much air, and the guy in the back's going to get just squashed.
Right.
So you always try and hit it on the angle, right? And then sometimes that angle, you think you're timing it, and then it comes early or late. This one came early, and we hit this thing sideways and we're up in the air, sled. There's a photo of me hanging on like this, and I remember just like letting go. I'm like, I'm getting away from this thing, And he somehow stayed on, jumped back on, we got back out, but you're just like this is like, you come in from a session out there that day and you're like, thank God I'm touching the sand, I'm touching the ground now.
No, every time I go there, I'm like, I hope this one of those things you just want to be over before it even starts. Let's just go eat some food, all right? Let's let this day just pass by.
Sitting in the channel is fun at Mavericks and Jaws, and the chances of going in and getting out of the make rates in the high 90s, right? You think, whereas Nazare, you might see like Hargraves or someone go in to get someone, and you're like, well, I haven't seen him for half an hour. I hope he's okay. Like, you just don't know. They may be stuck in there.
What's even more hectic is you have Scott Eggers, our team leader, up in our ears, right? And just, somebody went down. Jet ski here. Like, you got 19,000 things going on at one time, and you're just trying to make sense of it all. And yeah, no, it's the most hectic, hands down. Yeah, it's the gnarliest big wave, and I've been to almost all of them now. Like, as far as just sheer size and just all the things that are going on there on a big wave day. I was never an advocate of that place being a paddle surf contest. It just wasn't. It just didn't. It was just too hard to manage.
Yeah. It's, look, I think there's days that it's manageable. I think that those, 15 to 20 foot days, if you get clean, but it's so hard to get those days right.
Yeah.
I think that Nazare could be both. I just think you could just have one on standby, because if that day does come,
that's a good idea.
Because there's so many days of waves over there. You're going to get and you're not looking at. It's not like Jaws and Mavericks where you like it's. You're looking for the biggest swells for those spots, Like, whereas Nazare, you're high if you think you're looking for the biggest day to paddle over there. It's just, what I mean. So, but what waves? I know we sort of went over this, but what gets you excited now, Frank? Like, now that we're coming back into big wave season. You obviously live right there at Maverick, so that's a no-brainer. But like, when you see those purple blobs heading off, like, what gets you excited these days to jump on a plane, get the ski, do the whole rigmarole of getting ready to chase waves?
I think what I'm excited about this season is that we're going to take it back to old school, because, there's all the, these companies nobody has sponsorships anymore. Everyone's being dropped, so you're not going to have people with these budgets that can just fly all around the world anymore. It's going to be a lot of core guys and girls who really just want to surf big waves, and we're accessible. Mavericks is right here on the mainland, so you can drive here from somewhere. So I think it's going to be really cool this year. We're going to see a handful of the young guys, but we're going to see a lot of core surfing out there like it used to be. And, photographers will be out there, but, it's not going to be like it was, in the last few seasons, just because the whole lockdown stuff and, and the businesses not, be able to provide. And, so you're going to have to want it now. Yeah. You have to want it purely for the sport of it.
Yeah, I think that's
because you're not going to make any money off it.
Yeah. No, and that's true. And there's a lot of talk here in Hawaii too. Like, is it going to be crowded? What are people going to be doing? Are people going to be coming and traveling? Like, do you have to quarantine for 2 weeks? Like, there's all these questions of like, what's going to be happening here as well? And I'm torn back and forth. I'm like, is it going to be crowded?
Yeah, or even getting on an airplane. Like, do you want to get on an airplane right now?
Yeah. If Mavericks is breaking, I'll be there.
That's what I'm saying. So it's going to be like, it's going to be you guys.
It's going to be the core. It's going to be people that, and unfortunately, like the money, the economy, that there probably isn't going to be as many people. Like, and it might be nice, right? It might be nice to go back and have that feeling of it being 10, 15 years ago again,
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. But we're still going to go train. Like, we're going to go out next month and put together some training, get ready. The season's upon us now, so.
Well, there's a little pulse up there.
We saw it.
I nearly looked at that and went, can I go to Mavericks and just like roll into a couple of foam rollers just to do it, But it's probably borderline even like sort of whitewater. But when I first saw it, I'm like, ooh. I was a little excited.
Yeah,
there
I
for a
saw
second.
Eric Akascalian up there. Those guys have been training, getting ready for it, and you just had it all. You're like, oh shit, here it comes, or the blob is here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what? And then you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's classic.
No, that's good. That's part of the fun, though. You know, it's that anticipation.
Are you gonna try and travel? Are you just gonna stick to home? Or...
I gotta see, because I have my son. He's with me, half the time, and he's homeschooling. He's distance learning right now, so I can't just take off and bail.
It all works out.
He has to stay with me, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. See where
Totally.
There's always new twists and turns. Somebody's gonna come up. We still have Bill Sharp. He's always has him and Greg. They've keep me busy. They keep me on my toes. Those two. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes it's nice to just take a refresh and. But it's one of those things. If the swell of swells come, it's just one of those things where people find a way to get there, right? And
how it goes.
Yeah. So I'm excited. It's even though it's meant to be a bit of a La Nina year, so
yeah.
So they're saying, but even still, I think I'm definitely excited. I think just to see people. I mean, I'll be excited. I can't wait to just go and eat down there and go see everyone, hang out, talk story. You know what I mean? And go to the OPL. It just feels like it's normal when you're able to do that cycle.
Well, I mean, look at it. I've been doing it for now 25 years. And most of my friends are all the same dudes. And I don't see them a lot during the summer, but once we were back together, first swell, it just feels like no one was ever apart, and we're just doing it all over again.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Look forward to that. That's going to be amazing. We all have kids and stuff now, and families, and lots of things going on.
Well, it makes each swell just that more important and special. And for me, for sure, especially the really, really good ones. The ones that you're like, ooh, that could be like a once in a 5-year one. I think for me personally, I really want to make the best use out of those special ones now, because they're few and far between, and you never know when that side of it's just going to be ending. So
right on, Jamie.
And I wanted to ask about the progression, from being on the jet ski and for taking photos, and what you've seen the biggest progression has been, like from back in back in the 90s in Mavericks and stuff now to what you're seeing these young kids doing, and guys like Albie and all that sort of stuff.
Well, you kind of answered it already. It's just back in the day. Me and Doug talk about it. It's like there would be a Maverick swell, then there was like, if it wasn't Jeff, because Jeff didn't always go out, he's busy working the shop or something. So you would go out there, but there'd be good surfers, but they wouldn't be going for the biggest waves. And then all of a sudden, like Flea would paddle out, or Pete would paddle out, or Skin Dog, or somebody, some of the young Santa Cruz guys, or the Sean Rhodes, Pacifica guys, those guys would paddle out. Now it's a session. Like for us as a photographer or whatever, like if you're really now it's going to happen. And that was few and far between, because there wasn't every swell that they would all go out there. Maybe one or two guys at a time, Or there may be a super session where we got 2 Hawaiians that flew over, which, oh my God, it's huge, This is a big thing. Now it's 90% of the guys out there are good surfers, young and old, and it's like, any wave can be something spectacular. So that's what I mean, it obviously makes the crowds a little thicker, but as far as performance surfing and more performance surfers, that's what I've seen in the biggest change, and now, including the females now too. Yeah. So there's just so many good surfers out there now. Yeah, it's
like when that February 4th, 7th day, when Albie and Tyler came, and there's something about when new really good guys that haven't surfed the spot, it just brings a bit of like energy of like, how these guys,
the new energy is amazing.
How these guys going to surf this, or this guy charges so hard, like what's he going to do, out here, and because Mavericks is such a I still think there's so much to be done at Mavericks, with the way that the left and the right, and somehow crossovering, backdooring those waves, and the smaller boards, and someone that's like an Albia, I like Lucas and that going left because they're Goofy Foot and Luca, the Padua, but then also like guys like a Russell Bjerke that might be able to somehow look at the left and then like knife into the right, you know, and stuff like that. And I mean, even for me as a surfer, just being out there too, like when I hear of certain people coming to certain places, you know, like, or if a Dorian would turn up or something, you know, there's just, as a photographer too, I'm guessing
that's what I'm saying. When you see
like,
that, when you know that's going to happen, your excitement level goes way up.
Way up, yeah.
And then as a rescuer, you're like, oh, that means more rescues. Which is fine, you know, it's just all part of it. Yeah, I remember it was, 4 or 5 years ago, Billy Kemper and those guys came out and just slayed it. They just killed it. Kaylee, like paddling in on his, you know, stand-up paddle. I think you were out there on your stand-up paddle board, and guys are just slaying Mavericks. But that's just one of those days, you know, those super sessions that are just so much fun to watch, and then you know, watch all the video a few days later and see them all in their hotel rooms and see that nervous excitement from those guys. I love all that part now.
Yeah.
That's cool. We didn't have that back in the day. It was just whatever.
Yeah.
Just talked about it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the yin and the yang too, right? It's like less, you know. But maybe you get maybe this year will be the best of both worlds. Maybe you'll have all the technology and stuff to able to do it with the, you know, with just with the whole group, you know. Because,
well, we used to do it. You would like, we were shot, you know, on slide film, and you have these sheets of slides, and then you pick out, you do your own edit, and you send them in, and Larry was our editor, and Rob Gilly, and they would write little notes on like, you're too close, you're making it look too small, blah blah. And then you'd have to call up the next day and talk to Evan Slater or somebody, and they would write the story about the session. You know, there's not a lot of video and not a lot of dialogue. The only dialogue was in the magazines. So that's all you had. So then you would wait for a month for the magazine to come out, and maybe you got a cover shot or a 2-page spread, but that was the whole story was on print. And now the whole story is out 3 days later with drone shots and, you know, helicopters and boats.
Well, you're saying, you can go to the boat to get a drink and see the wave you caught 5 minutes ago all over Instagram, you know.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty cool.
Definitely
cool
live in a different world. So, Actually, I was going to finish off usually with 5 questions with the surfers, and I think you'll be awesome to answer these too because you've been there. But question 1's always, what's the best big wave in the world?
The best big wave in the world. I've had so many people ask me that question. I can't really pinpoint it. I have to obviously say Mavericks is my own break, but they're all so different, and that's what I've learned. So
cool.
To say one big wave is better than the next it's almost impossible, other than your loyalty for your own spot. So
exactly.
I'm sticking with Mavericks.
Perfect. I like it. Heaviest, scariest big wave.
Heaviest Nazare, hands down.
Yeah, you've got to be there to see it, right? There's you can't. I don't even try to explain it anymore. It's just like
Cortez is a pretty close second to that because also anytime you have waves converge, like big waves converge, man, that just makes things super hectic.
Well, just where you are. I think you out of the consequences of what we saw when we were out there with Greg, like that adds a whole nother level of you know, it being heavy. So.
That whole river thing that it creates when the waves converge. I'm like,
yeah. Okay. Next one is the most underrated big wave in the world.
Underrated. Let's see. I don't know. It has to be some of those slabs over your way. Like we just don't get to see enough of them, and we know they're super heavy. Yeah. Like we have Mavericks Jaws. Yeah.
That right down WA is pretty crazy,
Because we've seen so much of everything else. Like, we know that Puerto Escondido is heavy. We know that Toto's heavy. We know Maverick, you know, all the stalwarts. But there's so many of them down there that we don't get to see enough of. Yeah. That, you know, because there's not a lot of people traveling down there to get exposure, which is good, you know, good and bad. But
yeah, for sure. Okay, where's one big wave you want to go to shoot that you haven't yet? It's like sort of tick it off the bucket list.
I want to go to Nazare just to shoot, not to rescue. Yeah, I want to just do that. Do you want
to shoot on the cliff or on the ski?
No, I want to shoot in the water. I've seen some angles that I could probably get and probably survive on the right day by myself. So yeah, I mean, I would set my gear up differently to do it, but definitely, I that's my, you know. That's my thing. I definitely want to get that place because some of the drone stuff where they get down on the wave level and shoot, man, I could be there, man.
Yeah, I think that's the Everest for surf photography big waves at least is somehow how do you get in there and get that shot and get out, and that's a pretty lofty and good goal to have.
Because unless it was like Abe or somebody or Brian or some of those guys on the team that would be driving me around, I would not trust anyone else.
Yeah,
like sure. I learned that lesson a long time ago on the Billabong Odyssey. We were in France and we went to Belhara, and Bill wanted to hire some local guys to just to spread the love, right? And he hired this guy who was a professional jet ski driver, and we were on this two-seater little ski. I'm like, it's how those things are really unstable, right? I'm like, this ain't gonna work. He thought I was shooting video, but I was shooting still. So I'm like, okay, hold on. I go, let's clip our life jackets together, because that's super safe, right? So we clipped our life jackets together. So when we both moved together, right? And then we got nailed. And we both ended up we were on each side of it, and the ski was in the middle of the life jackets, pulling us both down. All camera gear gone, dragging us both to the bottom. I somehow unclipped and got out. I'm like, okay, I'm never having anybody drive for me again. Yeah. It's just too hectic.
And never tie yourself to the ski or someone else.
Nah, don't tie yourself to an anchor. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, classic. All right, last question is the next big wave frontier that we haven't seen yet.
Well, I don't know. Where is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, that's a better question for you.
I think there's lots of places, right?
I just think to keep searching,
Yeah,
I think there's just always there's always something out there, and we've found all these ones, so
yeah,
there's definitely they have to be more somewhere. Yep,
definitely.
So we'll see
for sure. Hey, well, Frank, on behalf of myself and everyone else in the big wave community, I want to thank you for everything that you've done and are going to continue to do. I know you've picked me out of some sticky situations and lots of people, so thank you so much, and we appreciate it. We love you being out there, and thanks for spending the time being on the late drop. I really appreciate you.
No, it's really cool. I was excited. I like watching your podcast. It's super cool. Thank you, man, for all you've done. We're all family now, so.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I'll see you in the channel. We'll see you in the channel.
Yeah, for sure.